Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Can you hear me clearly, please?
You do.
Okay. So, sorry for being late for about 5 minutes or so. Currently, let me check the attendance. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 people, which means a few other people are not on board. We hope they will join us uh, at the right time. Okay. So, welcome to today's session, today's live mentored learning session on data summarization through pivot tables, pivot charts, and dashboarding, right? We hope that you have already gone through the materials on the learning management system. So you have the principles, you have the basic principles that guide the preparation of data summarization through pivot tables, pivot charts, and basic dashboard preparation. If you have already done so, then we'll have a very interactive session. The data set that we are going to use is, let me try to get to, let me see if I can just go to the learning management system quickly. Yeah, I think it's here. Okay, so okay, so this is the attached data set, and a brief guide for you to be able to follow through what you'll be doing is also attached as a markdown file here. So when I click to preview, I hope you still can see my screen. Yes, okay, so this is the data set that we are going to use to walk ourselves through the preparation of pivot tables, pivot charts, and dashboards. But before we come to the substantive work for today, I want to kind of give an overview of what we have been trying to do so far to connect the dots for you to see the story that this whole program is trying to narrate to you. From the very beginning, we looked at data preparation, data cleaning, making the data ready for analysis. We have used data sets and extract from the main data sets like this one through module 1. And then yesterday, Lord helped us to top it up by looking at some advanced methods for data cleaning in Excel. The story with those models is that data sets may come to you for analysis, and it might have some cleaning issues. It might have some labels that are not consistent. For example, some can be capital, some can be small letters. The issue of trailing spaces, leading spaces, issue of inconsistent date formats, and those kind of things, which you need to fine tune. And the way to fine tune them is through the tools that we learned through module 1 and then the first part of module 2 that we had yesterday. So now you can clean a data set. The data set we have now is a clean data set. So you have cleaned your data set. That is how the system flows. If you have finished cleaning your data sets, now you can do analysis. What are we trying to arrive at? What we are trying to arrive at is that the data might be telling us a lot of things about how the business is going and so forth and so on. The whole idea is this. There is always some business issue at hand. For example, as a business, we always want to do well. And how do you know you are doing well? There are some metrics that you can gauge, you can use to gauge or measure you're doing well. What we call KPIs. KPIs are just some numbers or some metrics that we use to measure the performance of a business. So if those numbers are high, it might suggest that things are going well. It might also suggest that things are not going well. It depends on the kind of KPI you are using. This particular case we have, this is my business, and you also need to take it like your business. So in my case, I call it Code Fusion Supermarket. Code Fusion Supermarket operates nationwide. So we have a lot of branches. So in the data set, you can see branch name. You can, through the data set, your eyes can see things like Accra Central, Koforidua, Tema Commercial, Kumasi City, a number of centers across the country. And then the regions that these centers can be found. So this is the column headings: branch name, branch region. Then we deal in assorted products. So these are the categories of the product: electronics, office supplies, home appliances. And then we operate through multiple channels. We have an online section of our business. We have shops, so that is the in-store. And then we have some special partners that buy on partner terms. So that is how our business looks like. Let's say multi-branch supermarkets across the whole country. So these are the branches. These are the regions. We have the branches. And these are the various categories of our products. Then we sell. So this is a typical output from a typical sales processing database. In most organizations, this kind of system is most likely to be developed with SQL databases. So this is how SQL databases look like. And when you do a query to the SQL database and you pull your report, let's say the reports we pulled is like, okay, we want the various orders that happen within this period. So you have the order ID. And for a particular period, so we have the order dates, and it is spanning, we are dealing with the whole of 2025. So 2025 January up to 2025 December, the whole year. And then this is the month name. So these are the specific columns that a typical RDBMS might have. And when you do a query and then the database spits the data, this is how the data set will look like. Your job as a data analyst is to take this data set from the database, and that's what we have now, and analyze. First of all, clean. So we have dealt with cleaning issues. The data set is clean. How do we do analysis on top? So that's what we are going to do today. So we are going to basically look at pivot tables for summarizing these data sets. So what I'll do now is that I will open the data set in Excel. I'll open the data set in Excel, and then give me a few minutes. Let me try to hide this thing. And then we will guide ourselves through the requirements of today's lesson. Okay, so this is how the data set will open in Excel typically. The only thing I have done on top of this data set is to convert the data set to Excel tables. To do that, the basic thing you need to do is you click anywhere in the data set, and then you press Control plus T. Control plus T. When you do Control plus T, you'll see some green borders bordering the whole of the data set. And then you see a small dialog, which is directing you to convert the data set into Excel table. And when you do that, this is what you will see. You will basically see that the data set column headings have these filter handles, which you can use to do some basic computation. The only thing that Excel tables, the main thing it does for us is that it makes handling the data a little bit more intelligent than, not being in tables, right? So it's a good starting point. Once the data set is clean, convert the data set to Excel tables like you see here now, so that analysis with it become a little bit more smarter. So all of you have these data sets. All of you can convert the data set to Excel table like you see now. And what we basically need to do at the beginning before we start any analysis is to try to get some understanding of the data set, data understanding. And that's basically what I described earlier. So the best way for you to be able to connect with the data set is to think of the whole thing we are doing as your personal business. This is your own business. For me, this is Code Fusion Supermarket. So I want to understand what is going on in my business. Sometimes it might not be because something bad is happening, but generally you need to know what is happening in your business. It could also be the analysis, the need for analysis could also be driven by the fact that you see specific things that are not going well. Maybe a particular branch, the sales is small. What is happening there? Or generally, overall, the expected return, the expected sales are not what it is, and so on and so forth. And that might warrant investigation, and that is where data analysis comes in. So you want to make data-informed decisions, right? So for this particular data set, it's a multi-branch retail business. We sell these things: electronics, office equipment, beauty and personal care, and stuff like that. So for a period 2025, January to December, a number of sales transactions have happened. And this is how our system looks like. When an order is placed, so you see the order ID. The order has, let's say the order has these features: order date, the month, the year, month, the month name, and then the year, and then the month of the year, the branch of the business, and then the region in which that branch is. Then for that particular order, the product that is being ordered or being purchased, what category does that product belong to? What channel? Is it online sale or in-store sale? What is the volume of the sale? That's the net sale. What is gross profit? What is the order count? I mean, how many times that order was done? So that's the data set we have, and we have the figures here. On the face value, it will be very difficult for you to get any serious understanding of stuff like which of the categories of our product is doing so well, which of the categories of our product is not doing so well. The various channels we operate in, which of the channels is having more sales traffic? Is it online or is it in store? And then for the various regions we operate in, which region does well in all overall business? And which region does well in what specific category of product, so that we know where to probably shift more of these kind of things to, and so on and so forth. It will be very difficult for you to decipher these kind of understandings from the raw state of the data set as it is. And of course, this is a small data set for illustration purposes. A typical business data set could be several times this one. It could be maybe 100 times this one, several times this one. It could be very big. And that even makes it more challenging to get any understanding from the raw data set. And that is where techniques to be able to summarize the data becomes so important. And then also having some graphical display of the key metrics and the key indicators of what is happening in the business becomes also very important. So for example, we are going to do something like this. It is the same data set, right? See, this is the same data set you have, but now we have drawn. We have reduced the data set into pictures like this. This becomes so important for easy analysis, for easy insights about what is happening. At least, for example, this one is saying monthly sales and profits trend. So you can see, okay, for the period January to December 2025, this is the behavior of our sales. It started somewhere from here, and then in February, it was rising up, and then started declining from February across March up to June. And then it started rising up a little gently, and then it peaked a little bit in September, and then it's been on and off sort of. You can't really get this handy insight from this. And this is the same thing as this picture. If you look at the profit, you can see the profit is also moving somehow along the trends in the sales. But you can hardly see this picture of your profit movement from the raw data sets. Right? So how do we reduce or convert this raw data set into some of these easy to comprehend metrics, indicators that helps us to understand what is happening in our business? For example, through this, I can do something like, okay, for the whole business, for the year 2025, this is the picture. This is the overall sales trend for all of our business, all of the regions, all of the branches, all of the products. This is the sales trend month by month. And this is how the product categories are doing. You see that electronics happen to be doing very well, followed by groceries overall. But this is the overall. We might be interested in how this is showing in only in store or online business, or how this is showing in only Ashanti region or Greater Accra region, and so on and so forth. So for example, when I click on this, you see that the data set will change to reflect, okay, this is the whole business for all of the categories of our product, for all of the branches we are operating in, but we are looking at only in store. I mean, the physical stores that people walk in. You still see that, okay, for in-store, electronics is still what most people like to buy, still followed by groceries. And then if you look at the sales by region, Western region is doing well in stores, in-store trading or in-store business, followed by Eastern and Greater Accra and Ashanti. Now let's turn to online and see if you see a different picture. You see, when we turn to online business, now region-wise, it is Greater Accra. So Greater Accra business is better with the online. This sort of insight helps you at least in how you do resource allocation. In this particular case, maybe you kind of beef up the infrastructure, online business infrastructure in Greater Accra, because I mean it does well. Any appropriate decision you need to take, it needs to be taken based on what the data is telling us, right? If I look at, let me collapse this. If I look at, okay, how is the whole business, all the channels combined, all the regions combined, but we are looking at only electronics, how they are doing, how electronics is doing. Of course, you'll see only this one because we are looking at only the electronics category. And you will see that the dashboard will be telling you a little bit more about this particular category. Accra is leading in electronics, followed by the northern region. I think the region that is not doing well at all is Bono region and Ashanti region are almost the same figures, not doing so well in electronics. So that might indicate that, okay, maybe we might probably have stronger competitors in these regions, and then we can take multiple decisions, a number of decisions. Maybe we will increase our presence in those regions by advertising, by different promotional packages, or we might decide that, okay, we will not concentrate so much on this line of business, electronics, but we will maybe do some other business that these regions are doing well. So let's see other ones. Groceries. Yeah, so we can check them and see how the business is doing on individual specific cases. So this is a simple dashboard which has been built from this data set. So we are going to go through the process step by step. The focus in today's lessons is not decoration. There are a number of things you can actually use to decorate your dashboard. The focus for today's lessons is on getting the key metrics that brings out the insights based on which you have to take the appropriate decisions. So we have these kind of KPI cards, which is giving us the total. So we see total sales for the whole period, gross profit for the whole period, the number of orders, total orders for the whole period, total orders. Yeah, this is 120 across the whole organization for the whole period. Profit margin percentage, which is basically telling us that for every sale we make, what percentage of the sale constitutes gross profit, profit after deducting direct expenses? 23%, that is what the computation tells us. And this is a good indication that you should have on a dashboard, and every day you see, okay, this is what is going on in my business. 23 is not bad, but what will make it not bad is how tight we manage the expenses that we will have to subtract later from this gross profit. If you're able to manage those expenses tight, then our profits might be good. And then average order value. Every order, you see a number of orders here. Order 5616. So on the average, every order has a value in terms of sales of 775.5. Some of these things are good to guide what is going on. And then you also track them, the changes in them. So let's say from 2005, 2006, 2007, across the years, how are the metrics changing? How are they comparing to each other? That tells you whether things are changing for good or changing for bad. So enough for the general description of the data sets and the objective we want to achieve in the end. This is the objective. So now let's see how we do them step by step. So I'm going to open a new Excel workbook. We're going to build everything from scratch and load the data set again and then go through everything step by step. If you do have a question, please, you can stop me any point in time and ask the question for me to clarify before we move on. So any questions right now before we move on? Okay, so we are good to go. So I'm opening a new Excel workbook. And then I'm opening the data set. So the data set is here, and I click. Oh, no. So let me. I think I opened from the same, so let me open it. Okay, so this is my downloads, my documents folder, and I have okay. So this is the data set that you also have from your LMS you downloaded. So if I want to see all the columns clearly, to see the various column labels we are dealing with, I'll click this corner here to select the whole sheet. And then I can double click any intersection between two columns. It can be any intersection. It can be this one, it can be the first one, but of course it makes sense to do it the closest. I'll double click here and I adjust the columns. For the rows, I can click the intersection of any two rows. The first one is probably okay. And then I get the data sets well fitted, well aligned. We have already explained the data set. So the next thing is I'm going to do Control T, and then I get this Create Table dialog box. Basically, it does everything right. It selects the whole data set, but you can check to make sure that the selection is right. Yeah. And then you just need to press OK. And then we have this. So what we do is that we are going to go through it step by step. So the first thing we have to do is to create the various pivot tables that will give us the various summaries that we want and the corresponding pivot charts, which we will assemble into a one-page dashboard to give us straightforward comprehension of what is going on in the business. Yeah, Solo, please, your hand is up. You can talk.
Please, can you zoom your distance more?
Sure. Sorry. Is it okay now, please?
Yes.
Okay. So after everything, I'll share this one I did plus what we will do for you to have all of them to learn from. So now let's look here. These are the categories, the various summaries I created and assembled into this dashboard. So I created this worksheet. So you can see this worksheet tab, category summary. So this category summary basically summarize the data sets to look at the sales by the various products we sell. Yes, if you look at the data sets like this, let me make this one also bigger. If you look at the data set, you will see that we have various categories and people come and buy the categories. They can buy office supplies a number of times, each one of them a number of times. So what it means is that we have purchases for groceries a number of times with separate values. So we need to find groceries all the times and put them together. Then we know the total sales made for groceries for the period. We can do that kind of calculation using functions like SUMIF and combination with lookup functions and other things. But today's focus is on highly efficient methods like pivot tables, which doesn't require us to do any kind of formula work, but it does all the formula work behind the scenes. So that's what we want to achieve. We want to summarize all of these sales. We have this column, net sales. We want to find the net sales for each of the categories. So you can see this figure. First one is for electronics. When you go through it, you will see electronics again. Some figure here. You see electronics a number of times. How do we summarize to get every sale for electronics, every sale for home appliances, every sale for office supplies, and so on and so forth? Okay, so that's what pivot table is very good at. Anytime we have these numerical values that we may want to summarize against some categories. This is category, electronics, office, supplies. They are categorical variables. It comes in some finite containers, branch region the same way, branch name the same way, even the year, month. Of course, there are categories from January to December, and we might be interested in putting these values into these containers. And anytime you have a data set that looks like this, pivot tables are a very efficient method of grouping the database according to the categories. So that's what we're going to do step by step. All the various categories you want to do, you can explore them through pivot tables with no sweats. So the first one we are going to do is this. We want to group the sales by the various products, electronics, home appliances, and stuff like that. So now let's go to our new worksheet. Okay, no, not this. Okay. So I'm going to create a new worksheet by clicking on the plus here. And I'm going to rename it. Let me name it sales by product category. You can name it anyhow, but it needs to make sense. Your name should be descriptive, but always try not to make it too long. Mine is a little bit long, not that good. You can make it a little shorter, but it needs to be descriptive. Sales by product category. So that's this thing. What I need to do is, or let me handle it this way. We might not, of course, we can create the tabs beforehand, or we might not even do that because in the process, the creation of the pivot tables will ask us whether we need to create it into a new worksheet, and then we can choose that option, and then it creates the new worksheet tab automatically for us. So I like doing it that way. So let me delete this tab and then just click anywhere in the data set and come to insert. And then you will see in the tables group, and that's the first thing, you see pivot tables. We want to create everything from scratch. Of course, you can also explore with recommended pivot table. The system itself will try to give you some pivot tables that may be insightful for you to create based on your data set. We will not choose that option. We want to do everything from scratch. So I'll click on this. And then it tells me pivot table from table or range. And then it tells me, okay, table/range is table 1. And this is the name we gave to our table. We didn't give it any customized name. So let me close it. And then we can give our table a customized name. Let me see how we do that. Okay, so when we click anywhere in the table and I go to the table design, then you'll see table name here. All right, so we can give this table a customized name instead of the generic table 1. Let's call this table sales analysis. We'll call it retail sales. You can give it any other better name. Okay, so now that our table is named, let me check it again. Yes, now that our table is named, now we can start the pivot table creation process. We go to insert pivot table. And now it will tell us the name we have given to the table, retail sales analysis table. This is important because we could have a number of tables, and if you have a customized naming for each of the tables, instead of generic table 1, table 2, which if you have a number of tables, it becomes difficult to track. So that's why we have to do this. Choose where you want the pivot table to be placed. That is why I deleted the first one. So we don't need to pre-create, but of course you can also do that one. So I'm going to choose new worksheet for it to generate the new worksheet by the process itself. And then I click OK. So it will create a new worksheet and it names it sheet this, sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. And from here, I can rename. So now I can give it that name I gave before. Sales by product category is okay. So now let's try to get some basic understanding of how the pivot table worksheet is organized, is structured. So this is a sheet, of course, so this is a sheet tab, but it is ready for you to do summarized analysis. That's what we call pivot tables, to kind of summarize some numeric columns for each of the categories that you find in your data set. In this case, we can group the sales that are coming into the various product categories, the various branches, even the various channels or the various regions. Okay, so all of these kind of summaries can be done on our data set. So this is the pivot table here. It is not yet built, so this is how you will see it for the first instance. To build a report, choose fields from the pivot table field list. And then you see the pivot table field list on your right here. So the most important thing for us to understand is this quadrant here, these 4 boxes here. This is where every magic happens. So we have here filters. I will explain the filters later. We have columns, we have rows, we have values. Basically, this is what is, this is how it works. The category columns in our data set, for example, the branch name. The branch names are categories because we do have, let me open the data set itself. Branch name, we do have Accra Central, Koforidua. We can have the number of them. So let me try to do something like here. When I do equals unique, and then I'm going to hit the whole of here. And then you see the unique values under the branch name. Accra Central, Koforidua, Tema Commercial, Kumasi City, Takoradi Market, Tamale North, Tunyane Hub, Cape Coast. Yep, so these are the various branches. And they are as categories, right? So we might want to summarize our sales into each of these categories. So when you look at here, the rows here, we can put the categories. We might want to do something like this. Let me try to sketch something before trying to do the analysis. We might want to do something like this. Sorry. I want to do something like, okay, let's say branch. Then we have Accra Central, Cape Coast, North, and then for each of these categories, I don't know why this thing is not stable. For each of these categories, we will want to have their net sales. We want to do this summary table. Oh, Accra branch, Accra Central branch. What is the total net sale? Cape Coast branch, what is the total net sale? Northern branch, what is the total net sale? From the data sets in its original setting, you can't get that thing. So that's where the pivot table comes in. So you see that here, the categories are like row labels. If you look at here, they are like row labels against which we are going to compute some values. So usually we put the categories, the containers that we want to slot the sales values in at the row section. For some designs, we can also put some of the categories in the column section. We'll explore those ones, but the basic format, we'll put them here first and we'll see the effect. So let me clear these things I did and then we can proceed. Okay, so now I'm going to put, we are saying we are going to group the sales by category. So I'm going to put the category field here. And when I did that, you just realize, let me see if I can zoom this. Yeah. So when I did that, then you saw that, okay, you are not seeing the structure that I was trying to sketch. So these are the summaries, the containers: beauty and personal care, electronics, fashion, groceries, home appliances, office supplies. These are the various categories that we have, the various product categories. Then I want to summarize the sales into these categories. So I bring the net sales into the values. So the values are for summarizing the numerical values that you want to summarize into those categories. So when I put here, then you see that nice summary. So we have regrouped these data sets. Basically, let me say here, and then here. We have regrouped them into this nice format where you can easily see, okay, this is the total sales we generated for. And this is currency, right? So I just want to do some currency style formatting. So let me do this. I don't want to really use currency symbols. I just want a comma separator to make it look like money, right? So beauty and personal care for the whole period. This is the sales. So this is how the 93,000, 89.7 total sales. This is how they group into the various products. And this is very handy information that helps your decision making. At least on the face value, you're able to see that, oh, electronics is doing well. It has the highest sales generation. And maybe beauty and personal care is not doing that much, only 2,000. Then your eyes begin to look at where your eyes needs to look at. Okay. But we can add some other numerical variables into the value section to create more summary columns for the numerical values. For example, I can add gross profit here, and then you see it is building. So it is also slotting the gross profit values into the various product categories or product containers. And I can also add the order count, the number of sales transactions for each of the product categories. So you can see, okay, there was a lot of transactions for groceries, and yet electronics is topping in terms of sales revenue, maybe because groceries margins are small, so or maybe the selling values are not that big, or some other reason, right? So basically, what we want you to understand with this demonstration is that if you have a data set that is too clumsy like this, your eyes can't make any serious understanding and insights generation from the way things look in this data set. But when you use pivot tables to summarize like this, then you can begin to see things clearly. At least when you compare the grand totals, you will see that, okay, this is the total sales I generated, and this is the totals for each of the categories and so on and so forth, right? So that is the sales by, I have actually titled it sales by product category because ultimately we will be focusing on only the sales column in building our dashboard. But of course, there are also these columns: gross profit by product category, the number of orders for each of the product categories. You see that, okay, people are buying groceries more. It's because it's basic food. Everybody eats. Everybody needs to eat. People don't buy. If you look at the number of times that the transaction volume for beauty and personal care is 16, and that for office supplies 16. Okay, and it reflects the general reality of life. If you don't have beauty and personal care products, you will still have to eat something, so which is groceries. Yeah. Any question so far, please? Any question? Okay. So now we can reduce. This is nice. Of course, this is better in terms of insights, in terms of giving us some good information about what is happening in our business. This is better than this one. So this is more analyzed, this is more summarized, and this is pointing to specific things and making us see what is happening that can help us to take specific decisions. And of course, we can build some other insight-friendly analysis on top of this. I'm talking about visuals. Usually, your eyes is quicker looking at the data set in drawing, what we call visualization, than in raw numbers. And of course, for business leaders, business owners, CEOs who are always looking at so many things at the same time, visuals are the best ways to communicate with them. Okay, so we can visualize this on top of this. And that is where pivot charts come in. So pivot charts are basically charts that are built on top of the pivot tables you generate. How do we do that? When we click on the pivot table anywhere, and then we go to the context menu that comes with a pivot table. So you see pivot table analyze tab, of course, not menu, tab rather. You click on this, you get all the tools that you can use to do additional manipulations of your pivot table, including inserting pivot chart on the table. You will click here. And then you can get this insert chart dialog box that gives you a number of charts you can do. If you read the content very well, you will get the understanding that the most important thing you need to focus on in doing this exercise is clarity more than decorating it with a lot of things that do not really, is not really part of the insights you are trying to build and communicate. So on that note, you don't really take clumsy, cluttered, a lot of complex charts. For this kind of thing, you see product category. Some of the product categories can have long names, beauty and personal care. So, well, we can do this column 10, but what you see is that now look at the beauty and personal care. Look at where the label is branching into, right? So, well, you can do this, but it doesn't make it snappy. So let's look at another one. If I choose bar, right? Because the labels will come here, and here it has more space, then I'll go for this one. I'll choose bar. Okay. So now I'll choose this basic bar. As my pivot chart, which I'm building on top of this pivot table. All right, so at least we can see. So it's basically giving us the various product categories and the sales that they are generating. Not only the sales, you can also see the order count and the gross profits values. For the purposes of today's lesson, we will want to focus on the sales, so we can remove the gross profits, we can remove the order count, and then we can look at how sales is doing. Of course, you can also maintain them, but I want to, for the dashboard we want to build, I want to remove these ones in the meantime. So what I can do is I can bring the pivot table field control here. I can bring it back here and then basically uncheck the ones that I don't want it to be in the chart. In this particular instance, we just want to remove gross profit and then order count, and then we just leave only net sales. So I can just click here and click here, uncheck them, and it refines them. And you can also delete them by deleting them from here. So we get something like this. And anytime you do this kind of editing, it affects the underlying pivot table and then the associated pivot chart, like you see in this case. So we could do a few editing to here. In this case, if I click on this plus and then add a few decorations to the chart, like, okay, axis labels and then chart title, then I can make it more readable. So here I can rename this one to total sales or total revenue, if you like, total sales. And then I can call this one yeah, Gabriel, please go ahead. How you remove gross profit? Gabriel, I can hardly hear you. Okay, please can you hear me now? Okay. Hello, are you talking, please?
Yes, sir. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, if you can do better.
Okay. Please, how do you remove the dust from it? I'm confused about it. Please, can you go back? Hello, sir.
Yes, please, can you speak out because your voice is very low.
Okay. Please, I mean, my question is, how do you remove the dust from it? I'm confused about it. That's why I'm like to go right.
Please, can another person hear what he's saying? Can you hear what he's saying, please? If someone else can hear, you can
I
relay it
can't
to
hear
me
it. We
because
can't hear.
yeah.
I think it was like, how do you remove the gross sales and then uh, the
Okay,
unit?
the other columns that I added earlier, how I remove them? I think
Yeah,
I
I
get.
think so.
Okay. I'll come to it, Gavin. So because we have it like this, total sales and the whole of the pivot chart, I deleted, and that's the question he's asking, I deleted the other summaries. So we have only one summary that we have charted. Then there is no need for the legend. Yeah, because everything is that same legend. So you just need to click on this legend and you can delete it off to make your dashboard more cleaner. And we can also remove these kind of controls like this one and this one. The way to do that is if I have the chart selected and then I come to the pivot chart analyze context tab. I think I should be able to find, okay, you can see this show hide, and then you see these filled buttons. When you click on this drop down, you can choose hide all. Yes, and then those kind of things will find themselves, uh, they'll be hidden, and then the dashboard will be clean. Okay, so our main focus has been achieved. We have built a pivot table that is summarizing the various sales for the various product categories for the whole year 2025, January to December, into these separate containers for each of the product categories. So we now have the total sales for each of them. And then we have visualized it, which is beautiful for our eyes. So you can see that, okay, this is how they do. And I think it will be more beautiful if we arrange the order so that you can see the biggest one, the next biggest one, something like that. And we can easily do that by, we can right click any of the values in the pivot table, and most of the time try and right click. That's the best way to learn. When you right click, you see a lot of options and you can play with the options and see what happens. I can see, let me see if I can see some sorting. Yeah, so I see sorting here, and I want to do it maybe smallest to biggest or biggest to smallest, whatever it is, whatever it's your choice. Okay. Okay. So when I do that, then you can see that now the pivot chart reorganizes, and you see it a little bit more uh, better, right? So you can see, okay, electronics has the longest bar, so it is doing more sales generation than the rest of the product categories. Groceries is the next one. The least one is beauty and personal care. And we're going to do same for all of the other categories that we want to summarize the sales into. We have done summarizing the sales by product category. So we can come here and then click anywhere and repeat the same process to do other summaries as well. So I come to insert pivot table. And I want to build a pivot table from this table, that is right. I want new worksheet. And then it creates a new worksheet and makes it ready for the summarization through pivot table. And we already understand the structure through the first one. This is where the summaries will come. So you have pivot table 7, but this is not a good name, so we can give it a customized name. I think I didn't do it for the first one. So you see when you click on this pivot table analyze context tab, you will see a lot other tools that you can use to manipulate your pivot table, including the pivot table name. So here we have to give the pivot table, the first one we didn't do it, so we can go back and do it. Pivot table name, let's give it sales by region. And that's okay. Okay, so this guy, which is a pivot table, is ready to flex itself to show the summaries we want to do. And all we need to do is that these are the various columns that we have in our data sets, and this is where we can group them. So it's as basic as that. So now we know where the category should be put and what a category means. So we are talking about region. So I put a branch region here, and you can see, let me make it bigger. When I make it bigger, it kind of disturbs my screen. So this time I will not make it too big. This is okay. Can you see it, please?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So we pull branches as the row because that's how we want to do the summary. And then we can pull the net sales here, right? You can also add the other ones and show that summary if that is the approach you want to go for this particular analysis. For the purposes of the ultimate dashboard we want to build, I will drop the other summary columns, the other numerical columns. And I'm dropping it here because in the first one, I showed how you can do that kind of thing. In your experimentation, just feel free to do any crazy thing you want to do. Learning comes from those crazy stuff you do. Okay, so we have this summary. And of course, we can rename the pivot table columns nicely. For example, we can double click here. And instead of saying sum of net sales, we can simply give it total sales for reporting purposes. Total sales. So we have to go back and do it the same way for the other one. I think we didn't do that. So let's make this one also total sales. And we can also give this one nice name like product category. And this is what you have to do for reporting purposes. It's very important. Usually the RDBMS columns are made in some style for programming purposes. So some names like this one, branch underscore name, branch underscore region. We do this kind of namings purposely for programming purposes. And this is Python programming style. We call it snake casing. Others might use what they call camel casing. We'll talk about those things a little bit when we get to, I think, model 4, when we try to expose you, tease you around some heavyweight tools in the data analysis realms. Yeah, so that's what we can do. Product category. And this is better. Let me rename my sheet before I forget. So I'm going to rename this as sales by region. And you always need to remember to name your sheet tabs to be able to identify exactly what you are doing in what sheets and how each one is building into the ultimate thing you want to do. In this case, the dashboard. So sales by region. So I just want to make it region. And then we can do our pivot chart on this. So I click on pivot table, analyze, and choose charts. Here, the labels are not that long. So you can choose the default clustered column, which the system gives to you. There's basically not that much difference in terms of how, how the data is being reported visually between column and bar. The only thing I think it will be the basis for your choice is how here the category labels. If you look at this one, you see that they neatly fit under each of the column. They don't spill over. So you can use this one as snappy. If you think you want to do bar, it will be the same thing that you are communicating. We have done bar, so let's do column. Just for the sake of right. Okay. And because the whole thing is for the total sales, the legend is not that informative. The legend is informative if you have multiple things we are showing on the same chart. Then the legend explains through color coding which bar is for which color is for which, and so on and so forth. So here too, we kind of relabel this as total sales or total revenue, whichever you like. Total sales across the various regions, and you can readily see. So let's, get off the other controls like this and make it more snappy. So I come here and then I hide this stuff. So we have our summary table and our summary charts. So for my Code Fusion supermarket retail business, I now can see that, okay, this is how the business is doing in terms of sales across the various regions that I operate in. I'm doing well overall in Greater Accra, and I think it is followed by Eastern region. I'm not doing that much in terms of sales generation in Bono. What is happening in Bono? Yeah, so maybe I need to go and see. I need to do a number of promotions. What actually is the ground issue? Without these summaries, your eyes probably cannot figure these things out from this kind of figures and a lot of columns and rows. So that is it for the pivot table for sales by region. We have summarized the data sets, so we now can see how we are doing in sales by the regions we operate in. And now we can do a number of them. Okay, I said columns and other things. So let's do another one. We come to the data sets, and then I go to insert, and I insert a pivot table. It will always be like this, and it is simple trying to group them. You have the field names here, and these are the organizing panel where you put things. Now let's explore the column. We have understood, using the row, so you put all the categories in a row form. That's why this is called rows. But how if you want to do columns? So let's say we have channel. I'm just exploring channel. I put channel here. And I see how it is. Instead of going row down vertically, it's now going across columnar. And then I can put sales here. Yeah, basically, so that's how it is. And I can do a combination of rows and columns. Okay, so now we are seeing the various channels and then the sales they are making. How about if I do put something like category here? Now let's see how the summary will look like. I put category here, so it's going to group on the row side categories, and then on the column side channels. And what are you going to decipher from this kind of summarization? So you can see that, okay, for each of the product categories, I can see the sales for the various channels that the sales came in. So for beauty and care, the sales for in-store is 954.02. For the same beauty and personal care, online sales is 709, partners is 633, and the total is this. This is beautiful. This increases the level of detail for your summarization, right? So depending on the kind of summaries you want, you might want to combine the row categories and the column categories against the numerical barrel that you want to summarize into these containers. Any questions so far?
I think you are following.
Thank you. Okay. And it also means that we can generate a pivot chart on this a little bit, let's say, I don't want to use the word complicated, so a little bit more detailed summarization. So let's see how the chart will look like. So I look at, I click on this pivot chart, and of course I can do, let me do bar just for the sake that I don't want some of the longer names to clutter the analysis. So let me see how bar will do. Like, okay, bar will do something like, and let's see it with our eyes. So now what we are seeing is that we have the product categories here: office supplies, home appliances, groceries, how they are doing for each of the channels, and you have the channel colors. So for office supplies, the channel for partners is green. So partners are not buying office supplies that much. Office supplies, we do much of the sales in stores. Yeah, this is how you can see them. We do least of it in partners purchases. Most of the sales for office supplies come in the form of in-stores purchases. When we come to home appliances, most of the sales come from online purchases. And of course, we also have some good number of partners purchases. It is surprising that in-stores purchases for home appliances is the least. I mean, in-stores recorded the least sales. We have the volume coming from online and then partners purchases. Groceries, most of the sales come from in-stores. People don't usually like to buy groceries by doing a phone call and order for some motor rider to bring them and so on and so forth. They would rather want to go to where it is in shop and buy it. Maybe it's also because it is food. For food, most people don't even want their food to be transported by a third party. Yeah, maybe that is the reason behind the signals we are seeing from the data. And if you look at fashion too, overall, not so much sales generation, but the biggest of the generation in fashion is online. Electronics, that is our flagship product, does most of the sales through partner purchases, followed by in-store. And if you look at beauty and personal care, the sales generation is quite weak. And within that weak sales generation, much of it comes from in-stores. Yeah, very insightful. You could probably never be able to get that insight from reading this dataset. So you can label this as, what name should I even give to it? Sales.
Category by channel sales.
Yeah, sales by product category and channels. Good. Sales by product and channel. I think this is descriptive enough. And then you can have this as a summary sheet for understanding what is happening in your business. And so if you look at a business like Melcom's business data is just like the one we are analyzing. This is what, if they have a data analyst, and I don't think they have one. I'm not sure they have any serious one. So you can begin to build your portfolio. This is one of the key things that you need to package into your portfolio. Begin to build your portfolio and probably write an application letter and attach your portfolio and tell them, you see, this is your business. And this way of looking at your business is so good for you. So hire me to do it for you. Yeah, I think you can do that. And what I encourage most of the time is not to work for someone. Any one of us here can set up a small business. And it begins from a small business. Every big business was small before. So in your own small business, be very, very much interested in the data that your business is generating. Put few systems in place to capture your data and do these analysis for your own business progressing. Now, we are going to do the last one. Not the last one for the sake of analysis of the insight about this business, but for the lesson's sake, which means after this, you can just play around the data to build any pivot table, pivot chart for any combination of categories and numerical values for rows, column combinations, explore them and see what comes out and the insights that it makes you see. Yeah. So let's do the last one as, let me check the lesson note I prepared so that we can. Okay, so I did category summary, which we have labeled as sales by category, and then sales by region, and then monthly trend, and then we also do KPI summary, monthly trend, right? So we're going to build this. So I go to the original data set and then go to insert, and I insert a new pivot table. And I'm going to label this one sales and profit trend or trends. So all I'm going to do is that I'm going to put here sales here, profit here, and then we want to see how they are doing across the various months of the year. Okay, so that gives us that trend thing. Okay, so how sales values and profit values are changing across time, across the various months of the year. Yeah, so this is the summarized table, pivot table. We can label the columns well. So let's say this is gross profit. This is total sales. Yeah. And then we can, let me also label this one. Let me call this one. What's the best name to give to this one? This is okay. So this is how I have chosen to name the columns, and then I can build my chart on it to show the trends in charts. So I go to pivot table, analyze, context tab, and I choose pivot charts. And for trend, line does better than columns and bars. So I'll choose line. And then I'll do this basic line for these two. Let me see the other ones. Okay, so we get something like this. This is just converting this table that summarizes the total sales into each of the months. So this is grouping of the sales into months. Month one, this is the sales we generated. This is the gross profit we generated month two, month three, up to the last month. And this is very insightful summary. And this is how we look at it in terms of pictures. So this is how the sales have been doing across time. And the profit basically is also dancing to that same tune. Yeah. So I think the next thing I will do is to remove those kind of things on the chart to make it snappy. So I come here and hide these labels. Yeah, make it good. Yeah, so now we have everything set to build our simple dashboard. We have the basic summaries that we are going to populate into our dashboard. So we create the dashboard sheets, and I'm going to rename it as dashboard. And then I prefer to move it to the very first, move it as the first sheet, because this is the summary. Dashboard doesn't entertain any data here. It's only as a one-page summary that gives you the overview of what is going on.
I see.
So usually we do not need these cells. These cells are for data, right? So the first thing we will want to do is to clear them, clear the cells and make it look more like a dashboard. We can go to the view and uncheck the grid lines in the show thing. So now we have our dashboard sheets, and we can give it a nice title. I'm basically going to copy the ones I did before because that will be straightforward. Yeah. Okay. So let me copy these labels. So Code Fusion Supermarket Sales Dashboard 2025 Performance. I'm copying it and transferring it to the new one we are building. So let me put it here. And I think that what we need to build in addition that we have not done is the KPI summaries. If you look at this dashboard, we have now done this summaries for the monthly sales and profit trend, sales by region, sales by category. But it is always good for you to show these kind of these high-level summaries, like the total sales, total gross profits, the total volume of transactions in the period 2025, profit margin on top like this, so that everybody sees, okay, these are the bigger numbers. So this is what is called the KPI cards. KPI is simply a performance metric, some number that we use to gauge the health of a business. And it's just like what we do in hospitals. When you go to hospital and you want to check whether you are doing well or not, they will use some numbers to speak to you about your health. Let's say body mass index, your pressure level, your sugar level, and all of these things are numbers. Yeah, so those are your metrics for your health conditions. In business, it's the same thing. So those numbers, those figures that we use to measure the business's health, so to speak, that's what we call the KPIs, key performance indicators. And it can be anything. For example, if we are running a school like Code Fusion is doing this online kind of technical education, the way Code Fusion will want to measure the performance, how the business and the philosophy of this kind of thing is moving on, might be something like, okay, total enrollment over the period, um, let's say percentage of quiz completion, assessment completion, and the scores. Anything around these things will be what will be used to measure the success of the business. So for this particular retail business, of course, it is obvious. Total sales or total revenue is one of the key things that signal whether the business is doing well or not. And it is very good for you to signal it here on top, total sales for the period. Gross profit is a key performance indicator for a business like retail business. The number of transaction volume for the period. If you go to the if we go to the I think there's a chat in the Pakusi is saying hello, sir. Pakusi, do you have something to tell me? Okay, so let's go. So we are going to create this KPI summaries, and it is basically a small table like this, so that we get those totals to move onto our dashboard. Because on the dashboard, what we are basically going to do is we are going to transfer all the stuff from the summaries we've been building. So we need that summary to be able to transfer to the dashboard. So we are going to create KPI summary as these kind of things. Basically, total sales, we can relabel them. Total sales, total gross profits, and total volume of transaction. So let's go to our data set. And then we create this sheet and we label it as KPI summary. KPI. Summary. And basically what we are going to do is a simple dashboard, sorry, a simple pivot table that brings these summaries. I want to zoom my sheet. So I go to insert a pivot table. All right, so let me choose this. Okay, so if this will be problematic, what we can do is we don't refer to an already created sheet. So let me go to and then create a new worksheet by yourself. Then we will rename it later. Yeah. So basically, I'm going to copy this and also delete this. And what I'm going to do is this new sheet that was created by the pivot table creation process. I'm going to rename it into the KPI summaries. And all we are going to do is that I need the total. So I'm going to put total sales here. I'm going to put gross profit here. You also need the total volume of transactions if you think it is important. Any other key performance indicator that it is important for us to flag at the top, like the design, we will want to build it into this KPI summary. So in this particular instance, this is what we did. I can rename them as an appropriate name. In this case, sum of order counts. Let me make it volume of transaction. Volume of sales transactions. So that will help you to know which product is getting that more traffic. Which products do we have more people buying? That might not necessarily mean it will be the product with the highest sales value. It depends on other values like selling price per unit, for example. So volume of sales transaction. And then I want to do this one as gross profit. Or let's say total gross profit. Yeah, I think gross profit is okay. Total sales. Okay, so now we are done to move to create our dashboard. Our dashboard is here. So we now can move the things here. For the sales by product category, we just need to copy this one and come to the dashboard and put it here. We can put them there and then we later come and organize them. So we come to sales by region, copy. Let's put it somewhere. In the meantime, we'll organize them well. And then sales and profit trend, copy. And put it. So the rest usually depends on your own way of doing aesthetics, but of course you can also learn from what others are doing. So what I want to do is I want this one to be, sorry, to be put here. This one needs to be labeled well. The title should not be total sales. So this one is total sales or simply sales by region. Sales by region. And then we can let me do something. Sales by region. It is appropriate for us to do these things at the source. Sales by region. Yeah. So excuse me. Let me do it the right way. Do it at the source before we transfer, so that we have the same thing. Sales by region. Yeah. Then you copy it so that we have one source of truth. And then we have here as sales by product category. Yes. And then we have sales. Okay, we didn't label this, so let's do some axis labeling. So here we will call it sales and profit trends. Sales and profit trends. Any labeling that makes sense. And then we can label the axis. This will be months of the year. And let's call this one let's simply say values, because they represent two things, so we can't just name it as one thing. So values in Ghana cedis to show it is a currency column. Okay. So I'm going to copy this to replace the other one. Copy. Dashboard. So this one will go, and then I put this one here. So I can do this, and then, okay, so this one is also, we have to label it from source so that we will not duplicate it. So next time we do it right. Sales by product category. Let me put sales by product category here. And the way I designed that one, of course, here you can do your own arrangements. The way I designed that one was, I think I did this. Let me push this one here. You need some kind of snappy display. Basically, that's the most important. And then here, I sort of stretched this one across. Maybe I can make this one a little bit slimmer, because really want to arrange it in some way. Yeah. And this one will kind of snap against this too. Some beautiful design, of course, and there's no one way of doing this kind of thing. Yeah, I did this. And then the last thing I did, so let me select all of these guys and shift them to the right a little bit. And then we can bring those cards, the KPI cards here. So I can put here total sales. Let's say total gross profit. And let's say total volume of transactions. And when we say transaction, this case, we're talking about specifically sales transactions. And let's say, what other one did we do? Profit margin. So gross profit. So these are key performance indicators, and there can be any one of them. You can think of other ones and you can put them on top, not necessarily these ones I'm doing only. So gross profit margin, and I want to make it percentage, so I'm just going to do gross profit margin percentage. And I also did this thing called average value per order, or average order value. Average value per order, or average order value. That means on the average, every sale, what was the sales value? On the average, yeah, we know that the sales value for electronics will not be the same as grocery items and fashion items, but this gives you some average picture of what is going on in the business overall, right? Yeah, so I think I'll put them here below, right? So I think it's okay for the space there. And here I'll just go and transfer them from where I have created the summaries for. So I'll do equals and go to the KPI summaries tab. Where is it? KPI summary tab. Let me get this one. So it's here. And I point to this and say, okay, so it transfers it there. And I come here. I cannot drag this because this one doesn't follow immediately the next cell. There are empty cells in between. So I have to do them manually. I can't take advantage of dragging here. So I put this one here and do equals and go to the KPI summary. And this is it for this one. And then I come here, do equals, and go to the KPI summary. Yes. For these ones, they are formulas that depend on, I think, these already existing values. So gross profit margin is gross profits divided by sales. Then we convert it to percentage. So this will be equals total gross profit divided by revenue. And then I can go to the home tab and click on the percent sign. And then it tells me it's 23%. The average order value is equal to the sales value when we share it equally for the total volume of transactions. And we want to know the value per each transaction, each sales transaction, as some understanding of the value of the sales we are doing. Yeah, so these are the figures we have. Then the rest is like some decoration. Another important thing we need to talk about is slices, which makes your dashboard very.
Sorry.
Yes, please go ahead.
The average order value, how do you come about it?
The average order value is simply trying to say something like, okay, we have this value, this big value, and this is for the total orders. So for each one order on the average, it means we are going to share this value for each of the 120, and each of the 120 sales transaction will get 775 points. So let's try to even round the figure. It might be more meaningful to round the figure. So let's say about 776 Ghana cedis. So we can format. I think I should have formatted the source values, but we can format them here. So here, this is Ghana cedis. So I come here and go to here, and then I can come to this numbers group, or you can use the keyboard shortcut that Lord has been exposing you to get it more quickly done. So I click here, and I can, if you want a currency symbol, you can choose currency, and you can change the symbol from, the default symbol is dollars, so I can change it to Ghana cedis here. And I want to copy that format. So I copy this format painter. This is also a currency, so I put it here. And I think that's all. The rest are not currencies. So Ghana cedis. And maybe I may want to center things. So those things are not really part of it. These are, when you watch the videos, you get all of these beautiful ways of arranging them, what is important to concentrate on, not so much of heavyweight decorations, focus on the insights, the instant insights that you want people to look at. That's the most important thing. But a few things like these ones are important. So I'm going to center this. You just need to make it appear nice. Yeah, something like that, not some tan something. But sometimes what is nice can be relative. Okay, so in this case, this is what we're going to do. And then we can also make it appear like a card. The card simply is like, you can see it separate in its own small container. And you can simply do that by using some cell format, and I can just change colors. Yeah, so maybe I can choose this green thing, and I can copy it here. Yeah, but here I'll do it separately because the other formats are different. Okay, so I go to cell style, And I need to be consistent, so we chose this one. Or this. Okay. And I think I can double click it. I rather formatted the wrong cell. It's in this one. Yeah, because of the centering, it makes it like this is where it starts from. So let me do it again. This is it. Right. Okay. So we'll do it the same for here. Okay. And you just try to arrange them. Usually, if the sizes, all of them are the same, the spaces between them are consistent, it gives a good visual impression. And that's very, very key in doing dashboards. But what we have done is quite not bad. Okay, so now let's talk about, let me look at the plan that we are following. Okay, so these slices. Okay, so usually how the slices work is, I'm going to build, this is how, let me show you how it works in the model one, then you will understand how we will do it here. You see, so these ones are slices for channel, so I can change the channel and see a particular channel. This is a slice or slicer for categories, so I can decide to focus on any one particular category. This is slicer for region. Yeah. So all of these slices should be attached to the pivot tables and pivot charts that you have built, so that when you change them, it reflects in them for them to behave dynamically. For example, when I click on online, for example, it kind of changes the dynamics because this slicer is connected to the pivot table and the pivot chart for monthly sales and profit trend. It's also connected to sales by region. It's also connected to sales by category. That's all it is. Once those connections are there, then you can now use the slices to show how things are moving around. So we go to the one we are building, this one. And I can create a slicer for this one. See? And then we want to slice channel. What other one? Category. Region. And if you want to do for branch, you can do for branch, you can do for multiples of them. Let's use this 3 to illustrate. Yeah, so we get these slices. So we are only going to copy these slices to the dashboard. So I'm going to copy this. Or let me say cut, because I wouldn't need it here. Cut. And I go to the dashboard and put it somewhere before. I come to where I built it originally. Cut this one also. Let me put it somewhere in the meantime. And then this last one. Come to the dashboard. Let me put it somewhere here. And just paste. Okay. So now I can do some nice arrangements based on what I've built so far. And this will also depend on your style. So I'll snap it here and kind of reduce it here up to these buttons. I think this is okay. Oh, you don't need to show this thing here, right? So if you kind of compress it more, you bring it down a little. Yes. And then I bring this one here. I want to arrange all of them here. Some people will arrange them at the top or some other place. It just needs to look nice. That's the most important thing in this. Okay. And then I'm going to do some reduction. This is okay. And then one last thing you need to do to make sure that all of them are connected to the various pivot tables and pivot charts is to right click on one, let's say this one, and then you can see report connections. And the report connections, you will see these ones, just check all of them. Okay, so the mistake we did is that instead of naming our pivot tables, I think we just did some generic pivot table 10, blah, blah, blah. We can go and name them and it will reflect here. But we have the sheet tabs here. So KPI summary, we click here, sales and products profit trends. It should link to it. And it should also link to this other one. Okay. Then we come to this one too and do that same linking. You will see the same thing here. You link all of them. And then this last one. So as many as the slices you have, you will need to repeat this process. Okay. So now it means that it should, when we slice, it should be able to communicate across all of them. Okay, so when we chose install, now you see that it has changed the picture. So install, sales, and profits trend. This is how it looks like. Only install. If you want to remove that kind of filter, then you click on this thing here, clear filter button here, and everything comes back. If you want to see, okay, how the products, how we are doing by, let's say, Greater Accra. So only Greater Accra, how the sales trend looks like across the various product categories. Of course, the region will be only one because we are highlighting Greater Accra. So you will see that okay.
You could check the link in and see. Maybe other we didn't select that place.
Yeah, it looks like, yeah. Okay, so that was mazed out. Let me check for all of them to be sure. So we have a consistent behavior. Okay, so now everything should behave in that dynamic way. So if you want to look at Greater Accra performance, only Greater Accra, so you see that that region will be the only highlight in the sales by region. But every other thing will now change to reflect Greater Accra. This is how Greater Accra is doing across the various product categories. And this is how the sales and profit trend looks like for only that region. If we zoom in on, let's say, Ashanti, this is how it looks like. If you look at Western, this is how it looks like. If you look at Bono, this is how it looks like. And this is quite insightful. Then you know how things are doing and which things are not good, which things are good, which decisions you need to take to battle the bad things and augment the good ones. Thank you very much. Is there any question at this point in time?
Please, I have a question. Um, please, I want to know how you linked them and then also how you calculated for the profit margin and then average order.
Okay. So let me take it first from the profit margin and then the average order because they are right here. Then I go to the linking. But you are okay with the total sales. So I think here we'll need some bolding. Are you okay with how we did the total sales KPI card? This one.
Yes, I'm okay with all.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we basically transferred these values from the KPI summary sheet, this one, right? But these ones cannot be automatically summarized from the data sets. Let me show you the data set. This is the data set. In the data set, we don't have any column for, we have column for gross profits though, but we don't have gross profit margin. We also don't have average order value or average value per order. Those are calculated values on top of what we already have. Gross profit margin is, or gross profit margin percentage is calculated as gross profit divided by sales. Usually we leave that metric in percentage, so multiplied by 100. So when we were here, and calculating this, this 31% is showing only bono, right? I think the overall one is 23%. So this is the gross profit margin for only bono. When I highlight Greater Accra, I think it might change 24%. Yeah. So how we did this one is based on the formula, which is gross profits, total gross profits, this one. So when I click here, when I click on this one and click in the formula bar, you will see the cells that were selected in building that value. The blue one divided by the red one. So total gross profit divided by total sales. Actually, that's how we calculate gross profit margin. Gross profit over sales times 100%. So that's what we did. Please, are you okay? Are you okay? Hello, can you hear me?
So I can hear you, but my I don't know, my data just went off and came back on.
Oh, okay. But did you get me? Did you get the explanation? Your data is still a problem. Yeah, I hope he got it. So that's the gross profit margin. Basically, what it is communicating is this. For every sale, what portion of the sale, what percentage of the sale represent gross profit? So for every unit sale, for every 1 CD sale, 24% of it is gross profit, from which you will deduct your other operating expenses to arrive at your final profit. So this is gross profit percentage as a percentage of sales. So every sale you make, the portion that represents your gross profit is 24%, which means the remaining, when you subtract 24% from 100%, what do you get? Are you with me, please?
Yes, please.
So what's the value? 100 minus 24.
It was 76.
Okay, whatever it is, I'm not sure. Is this 76? No, then when you add it, to be more than
You said 100 minus what?
24.
24.
Yeah, 76.
Yeah, it was 76.
76, okay.
Yes.
So it means that 76% represents your direct costs. So 76% of the sales value is blown away by your direct costs, which means your direct costs are high. So you can manage to improve your margins probably by looking at your direct costs, if there's a way to do that, to improve the margin, the gross profit margin, to make some room for a higher net profit margin. But that's what it means. Are you okay? The person who asked about the gross profit margin, are you okay?
Yes, please, I'm okay with it.
Okay, thank you
Just
very
the
much.
average value.
And then let's talk about the average order value. I want to holding this one. The average order value is basically saying that, yeah, we have a lot of orders. Let's go to the main sheet. These are the various orders, order ID. Anytime someone wants to buy something, we raise that request through an order. So these are the various orders. And for the whole year, 2005, from January to December, there were 120 sales transactions, 120 orders. That 120 orders, some were for electronics. Electronics value will be different from groceries and from home appliances. But when we put everything together and kind of smoothen it, share everything equally, what is the sales value for any one single order? So the sales value for one order out of the 120 orders, that kind of average measurement is what we are trying to do. It might not be too much informative for you at this time, but these metrics help in some other ways for you to know the average picture in your whole business. Of course, the various categories will behave very differently, and therefore that average picture might not be that much informative, but it gives you an overall measure of the whole business performance together as opposed to the individual categories. That is why we put it there. For some reasons, some people may not put it there, but that's what it is trying to tell us. So, are you okay? Yeah, I hope you're okay. So that's the average order value. Any other question?
Please, how you did the linkage?
Okay, the linkage. The linkage is, we have transferred these this sheet, this chart, this one as well, and this one as well. This chart is linked with a pivot table. So any changes that happen in that table will reflect here. Right now, if you go to the sales and profits trends pivot table. Sales and profits trends. Okay, this is the pivot table. If we change anything here, it will reflect here. And remember, this is the same thing we copied there, and it will reflect there as well. Anything that changes in this table will reflect there. So this is what we do. When you are building a slicer, you can build a slicer for one table, and later you go and link it to all the other tables. When I build a slicer for this one, all I'm trying to say is that, okay, I want to, you see categories are here. We have, let me show it for you to see. Okay, so here, insert slicer. So for this kind of summary table, how would I want to slice a portion of the table? It's like maybe I have a bread knife and I'm slicing a portion of the bread. So I might want to slice based on let's say channel. So what it means is that, okay, I want you to reorganize this or show a portion of these sales and gross profit summaries that is for this particular channel. And we have categories in the channel, in-store, online. So I can slice the online portion of this summary table. I can slice the in-store portion of that table. I can slice the other ones as well. So when I say channel, then this will come. Okay, so I can slice based on in-store. So now you see the values have changed. So they are now showing me month by month total sales only for in-stores. When I clear the slicing, you see that the values will come back to the total. I can do for online and also recognize that the chart is showing that reflection. And everything here that is connected here is also in the dashboard. So you see the same thing here, online, right? So when we build one, where am I even building? Yeah, this one, okay. So when I do this, I'm just building one, but I could have selected all the slices. So let me clear this one. And let me delete it. So I can pre-select all the slices and go and link it to all the tables. So maybe I want to slice the summaries based on channel. I want to also slice the summaries based on category. I want to slice them based on, okay, I did channel for you, so let me show you category. So you will understand what we have done together. I don't need to do all of them. Now, when I bring this one, then you will see that, okay, now this same summary, I can slice only the electronics portion. And then you see that the values change. This one also changed. I can slice only groceries portion. The values change and this change. So I will choose the number of the categories that I want to do my slicing on. So I chose this product category. I also chose channel because I want to show the summaries according to the various channels. I want to show summaries according to the various product category. I want to show summaries according to the various regions. If you want to show summaries according to some other categorical variable, you can select it for a slicer. And then when we did this thing, what we did was that we copied all the slices here to the dashboard because this is where we want to do those kind of manipulations. But everything is linked. So when we copied them here, the next thing we did was that when we did it for the first time, it was linked to that table, that pivot table that we built the slices from. But there are other pivot tables that are bringing themselves up here into the dashboard. So we just need to make sure they are all linked. And the way to simply do that is that for each of the slices you have built, make sure that that slice is connecting to every other pivot table and therefore pivot chart that if you click here, you want it to simulate. It's as simple as that. So here, I come here, the channel slicer. I say, okay, channel slicer, link yourself to all of these things. So when you click here and say report connections, you will automatically see all the pivot tables that are populated on the dashboard that will have to dynamically change if you change any of the options in the slides. So you have to make sure that all the options here are checked for that slicer. So KPI summaries is checked because things need to change if they need to change. Sales and profit trends will have to be linked to the channel because when we click on in-store, we want the sales to show the trend only for in-stores profit as well. So you do that to link this channel slicer to all of these pivot tables, summaries, and then the connected pivot charts as well. So these are the pivot tables that this slicer is being linked to, and you do that by just clicking the check marks. KPI summary pivot table, sales and profits trends pivot table, sales by product and channel. We didn't even bring that one to the dashboard, so we can remove it. But you can also make it be there because it is part of the summaries you have built. So anything you change in the slider, it will also show there. If you later want to bring it to the dashboard, then it automatically works with the slider. So this one was not part of the slider, sales by product and channel. But this one, sales by product category, is linked, and then sales by region. All of them are linked to the channel slicer. And that's okay. Then this other slicer, you link this slicer also to all of the appropriate or relevant pivot tables and pivot charts that need to dynamically change when you choose an option in that slide. So the linking is just by checking this checkbox. So when you do the right click and you choose report connections for this category slicer, you'll see all of the options you can dynamically connect this slicer to. All of the pivot tables you have built with the associated pivot charts. If, for example, you do not want some pivot table to be connected, it means you simply don't choose the check mark. So the ones we have on our dashboard, sales and profit trend, it is here, and its associated pivot table is in one of the tabs, in our summary tabs. Sales by product category. So we check sales by product category. Sales by region, we check sales by region. And that's it. So it will link, that slider will link to all of those pivot tables and therefore the pivot charts we have on the dashboard. And we did the same thing for this one. If there were some other sliders you added as well, you have to do the same linking of that slicer to all the pivot tables that are connected to the dashboard element so that you can see the dynamism. Are you okay?
Yes, please, I'm okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other question? Okay, I think our time is already far spent, so if there is no other question, then we will thank you. If you have a question, please go ahead.
Please, the question I have is for the model one.
Please, can you come again?
Please, I said the question that I have would be for the model one, which is the first topic. It's like the assignment attached to every lesson, and I have gone through it, but the result I'm getting is something different. So that's why I'm asking.
In fact, I'm finding it difficult to get you clearly. If someone heard him clearly, please, can you relay it? The background is not friendly. Did someone hear him clearly?
So can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Please make your question as clear as possible.
Okay. This, I mean the assignment attached to the first topic.
The assignment attached to
the first topic.
What topic?
The first topic. The model one assignment.
The model one assignment, okay.
Please, the questions I have cited, but the answers that I'm got, or the result I got for that question, is something different. That's why I'm asking that an update should be done with that assignment for the model one.
The results you got for module one assignment is different from what?
It's like the answers allocated to the questions is something different from what we are seeing.
Please, someone else who is understanding this question should relay it to me because I don't understand the way he's communicating it. The module one assignment is different from which one? Because we are not solving module 1 assignment. I don't have anything to benchmark module 1 assignments to. It's different from what?
It's like the questions, the answers allocated to the questions after solving it when you submit. It's like the result is 0.
The module 1 assignment is on what? I think it is data cleaning, right? It's data cleaning assignment.
I think he's talking about the check something.
The quick checks, the objective test.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you need to be that specific because when you say module 1 assignment, we have SCB assignment for module 1. We have the assignments you need to submit, and we have the quick check. So I'm lost in the way you were presenting it. Yes. Please, I will go back and check the keys. I think Sarah even made an earlier comment about it, that it looks like there's a key mismatch because the options to be the right answers, the response is like it is not the right answer. So please, I'll go back and check all of them and then fix them, and then you can retake them again. Don't worry so much about that one for now, right? I'll check it, and when everything is right, I'll give you the feedback.
Okay, thank you.
Please, any other question?
Please, the last Sunday, I couldn't join the class. So I just want to know if you would give us the video as well.
Yeah, the last Sunday on data cleaning, Sarah, unfortunately, that session, we couldn't record it. I think it was the first part of data cleaning, right?
The first part was on Saturday, and then the second part where I think I missed the chat bit.
Yeah, okay. So what we'll do is that I'll arrange, and if you need to go over any of the models or specific sessions where maybe things are not that clear for you, we can do that kind of arrangement for someone to go over it. Unfortunately, we didn't record that session, so we don't have the video to make you go through them. But going forward, every one we are doing is being recorded, including this one. So immediately after this, I'll put the video in shape and give you the link to go through.
Okay, thank you.
Any other concerns, please? Okay, so thank you very much for your attention, and we will meet next week. But before next week, please make sure you go through the contents. The contents should guide your thinking in that execution way, because you need to go and solve problems with data. And 2, make sure you solve all the SCV. I don't see any SCV activity yet. Have you been meeting yourselves? Have you met before?
Yeah, we met yesterday and then we decided, hey, was it yesterday? No, last 3 days.
Last 3 days.
Yes. And
That's
we
fine.
decided on when we will meet again.
Okay, please do
We
that.
basically did an introduction last 3 days.
Yes, so let's build on the introduction. You see, learning is better when it is done in a participatory way. This thing we have done right now, if we are not doing it in this participatory way, I wouldn't probably have taken my time to read through materials and organize them and come and present them to you. It's because I have to do something with you. If you were not also in a participatory way to learn what I am delivering, so all in all of us are learning together. You wouldn't probably have paid the attention you have done, and the concentration you have put forth, and the questions you ask. If you were on your own, you wouldn't have probably looked at the data. let alone ask questions and follow. So you do yourself a big harm if you don't go by the SCB arrangement. It is for a specific reason to kind of solve the problem where we do not learn practically. That is why that system is built. So please feel free. Yeah, feel free, meet yourselves. The first attempt is very, very impressive, introducing yourself. So that kind of connection is building up. But don't let it take long before something comes to build a wall between the connection. Quickly connect to yourselves. It can be just few minutes. Okay, I was able to spot these kind of issues in the data sets, concerning the data cleaning. And this is how I managed it. So you show your screen, someone look at it, and you can even build extra issues into it based on what you are learning. Okay, I learned about this formula, it treats this, blah, 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 blah. And you solve that problem. It is done, you have learned. You know something that you can practically apply. Advanced data cleaning techniques. You have the content, you have the videos, you have the LML session videos from Lord Osei. This one too, the video will be put there. The SCB is the mechanism for you to discuss. Don't reduce learning only to yourself. You will know only what you know. The things you are lazy about, the things that are difficult for you, that you have not been able to grasp, it will never come. But when you learn in association with other people, you brainstorm with other people, you begin to get what others have that you don't have as they get what you have. And that is where synergy builds. So I don't want it to be too dictative. So I do a timetable. We are adults. When you have to meet, no. This is also a measure of your sense of responsibility. You have to do it. So organize and do it. And I'm monitoring, okay? So please. And then the assignments that you have to do and submit, all of them are tightly linked to the SCB. So once you finish the SCB, automatically you can do the assignments that you individually need to do and submit. If you are not able to do the assignment properly, it means your SCB wasn't working. So please go back to the SCB as quickly as possible. Yeah, so this is where we'll end the session for today. Thank you for your attention. Bye.